The Treasure of Lima is one of the world's greatest lost treasures, and 500 expeditions have searched for it. Every single one has failed. This is the true story behind the legendary hoard that inspired both Treasure Island and Pirates of the Caribbean. In 1820, revolutionary forces closed in on Lima, Peru, and the Spanish colonial government faced an impossible choice. The city's churches and palaces held centuries of accumulated wealth, solid gold religious statues, chests overflowing with precious gems, and enough silver to build a small mountain. Rather than lose it, Viceroy José de la Serna made a fateful decision that would create one of history's most enduring mysteries. The treasure they were protecting represented 300 years of Spanish colonial exploitation. Since conquering the Incas in the 16th century, Spain had systematically stripped South America of its riches. Gold flowed north to Lima's cathedral, where it was forged into religious artifacts of staggering beauty and value. Life-size statues of the Virgin Mary, cast in pure gold and encrusted with over 1,600 gems, 273 jeweled swords, 1,000 diamonds, chalices, crowns, and religious relics all represented the accumulated wealth of an empire. But by 1820, that empire was crumbling. Napoleon's invasion of the Iberian Peninsula had weakened Spanish control across the Americas. Revolutionary fervor swept through South America as independence movements gained momentum. Argentine revolutionary José de San Martín was marching north with his liberating expedition of Peru, and Lima stood directly in his path. Viceroy de la Serna knew he had to act fast. The treasure needed evacuation before the revolutionaries arrived. He chose what seemed like the safest option, a British merchant vessel called the Mary Dear, commanded by Captain William Thompson. Britain remained neutral in the conflict, and Thompson came with solid credentials. The plan was simple: load the treasure aboard the Mary Dear and transport it to Mexico, where Spanish loyalists could keep it safe. What happened next would become legend. According to the original inventory, the treasure was staggering: 113 gold religious statues, including that life-sized Virgin Mary, 200 chests of jewels, 500,000 gold coins, 16 to 18 pounds of gold dust, 11,000 silver ingots. The total value? Contemporary estimates put it at £12 million, worth between $1.5 and $1 billion in today's money. Captain Thompson and his crew watched as chest after chest of unimaginable wealth was loaded into their ship's hold. Spanish guards and priests accompanied the treasure to ensure its safe passage. The Mary Dear set sail from the port of Callao, heading north toward Mexico along the Pacific coast. But human nature proved stronger than duty. Somewhere in the Pacific, Captain Thompson and his crew turned pirate. In a coordinated mutiny, they murdered the Spanish guards and priests, throwing their bodies overboard. The neutral merchant vessel had become a pirate ship, and its crew now controlled one of the greatest treasures ever assembled. Thompson knew they could not simply sail into Mexico as planned. Spanish authorities would be expecting the treasure. Instead, he set course for a remote volcanic island off the coast of Costa Rica. Cocos Island. This isolated speck of land, covering just 24 square kilometers, had already earned a reputation as a pirate refuge. The notorious Benito, also known as Bloody Sword, allegedly buried his own treasure there decades earlier. Its dense jungle, hidden coves, and complete isolation made it the perfect hiding place. The crew of the Mary Dear buried their fortune somewhere on Cocos Island, then attempted to disappear into the vast Pacific. Spanish naval forces captured the Mary Dear, and Captain Thompson and his crew were arrested for piracy. The trial was swift and brutal. One by one, Thompson's crew members were hanged. Only Thompson himself and his first mate, 17-year-old James Alexander Forbes, managed to escape death by offering a deal: spare their lives and they would lead them to the buried treasure. The Spanish agreed, but when they reached Cocos Island, the two men vanished into the dense jungle. The Spanish searched for days but never found them. Thompson, Forbes, and the location of the treasure had simply disappeared. The Treasure of Lima was never recovered by Spanish authorities, but the story was just beginning. In the 1840s, an aging Captain Thompson reportedly revealed the treasure's location to a fellow sailor named John Keating. Armed with Thompson's map, Keating mounted the first official expedition. He claimed to have found some gold coins and jewels, tantalizing evidence that the treasure was real. But if Keating discovered the main hoard, he never revealed it. Keating's partial success sparked a treasure-hunting frenzy that continues to this day. Over the next century and a half, Cocos Island would attract hundreds of expeditions. One of the most obsessive treasure hunters was August Gissler, a German adventurer who arrived on Cocos Island in 1889. Gissler didn't just visit, he moved there. For 19 years, he lived in primitive conditions, digging an extensive network of tunnels beneath the island's surface. The Costa Rican government was so impressed by his dedication that they named him the island's first governor in 1897. Gissler was convinced he would find the Golden Madonna, a life-size statue of the Virgin Mary. He had obtained maps from two independent sources that supposedly pinpointed the treasure's location. But after 19 years of backbreaking labor, Gissler had found exactly 6 gold coins. In 1908, he left Cocos Island for New York, completely heartbroken. The treasure had consumed his life and left him with nothing. Gissler's failure didn't deter others, though. The treasure drew an extraordinary cast of characters over the following decades. Franklin Roosevelt visited the island multiple times on treasure hunting expeditions before becoming president. Hollywood actor Errol Flynn searched for the treasure in the 1940s. Racing driver Sir Malcolm Campbell tried his luck in the 1920s. And American gangster Bugsy Siegel reportedly financed an expedition. One of the most recent serious attempts came in 2012 when British archaeologist Sean Whitehead received permission for a 10-day expedition. Whitehead brought modern technology such as ground-penetrating radar, 3-dimensional mapping, and aerial imaging. He was convinced that if the treasure existed, it would be hidden in natural caves that had been concealed by landslides over the centuries. But like all the others, Whitehead's expedition came up empty. The treasure remained as elusive as ever. The story of the Treasure of Lima has profoundly influenced popular culture. While Stevenson never confirmed that Cocos Island inspired Treasure Island, the parallels are unmistakable. A remote island, buried pirate treasure, maps marking mysterious locations, and the eternal human fascination with hidden gold. Treasure Island became the foundation for countless pirate stories in literature, film, and television. Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean franchise draws heavily on this tradition, creating a direct lineage from the real events on Cocos Island to Captain Jack Sparrow's adventures. But does the treasure actually exist? This question has sparked considerable debate. Some historians argue that the entire story is fiction, that the treasure never existed to begin with. Others suggest alternative theories. The treasure might never have been buried on Cocos Island at all, but hidden elsewhere. Some researchers propose that the Mary Dear actually sailed to the Tuamotu archipelago in French Polynesia, where the treasure remains buried on a coral atoll thousands of miles from where people have been searching. There is also the broader question of whether pirates actually buried treasure. Contrary to popular fiction, most historical pirates spent their plunder rather than saving it. But the Treasure of Lima story differs from typical pirate tales in several important ways. This was not stolen cargo from merchant ships or casual plunder. This was a systematic accumulation of wealth representing 3 centuries of Spanish colonial rule. Artifacts of religious and artistic significance that could not simply be sold in the nearest port. The sheer scale of the treasure would have made it difficult to transport and impossible to fence through normal pirate channels. If Thompson and his crew really stole this treasure, burying it on a remote island might have been their only realistic option. They would have needed time to establish contacts who could help them sell religious artifacts and precious metals without attracting attention. Cocos Island provided the perfect hiding place, remote enough to be safe but accessible enough to return to when conditions were right. The problem is that conditions were never right. Thompson and Forbes disappeared into the jungle, taking the secret with them. Today, over 500 expeditions have searched Cocos Island without success. The Costa Rican government, which has administered Cocos Island since 1832, now officially maintains that no treasure exists. In 1994, they banned all treasure hunting activities to protect the island's unique ecosystem. Cocos Island is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and its ecosystem is protected by international law. Treasure hunting is strictly prohibited. Modern visitors to Cocos Island, limited to about 1,000 per year, come to experience its incredible biodiversity, not to search for buried gold. In 2024, advances in underwater archaeology and remote sensing technology have renewed interest in the mystery. Marine archaeologists using autonomous underwater vehicles have begun mapping the seafloor around Cocos Island, exploring the possibility that the treasure might have been hidden in underwater caves, or that parts of the Mary Deer itself might still rest on the ocean floor. However, the strict UNESCO protections mean any such exploration remains purely observational. The park rangers who live on the island sometimes joke that they have found the island's real treasure, some of the most pristine marine and terrestrial ecosystems in the Pacific. The waters around Cocos Island teem with hammerhead sharks, manta rays, and other marine life. The island itself hosts unique species found nowhere else on Earth. That might be the most fitting conclusion to the Treasure of Lima story. After 2 centuries of fruitless searching, the island's greatest treasures have turned out to be the ones that cannot be measured in gold or silver. The mystery continues to captivate treasure hunters and storytellers, but the real value lies in preserving one of the planet's last unspoiled wilderness areas. But while the Treasure of Lima remains lost after 2 centuries, sometimes buried fortunes surface when you least expect them. Construction workers in the American South recently unearthed mysterious pots buried since the Civil War. What they found inside changed everything we knew about Confederate gold.